previous one. So let us change another light. If we can have nice looking and we need to make sure that we are not changing the scaling of this light, otherwise the light may not come as per our preview. So you can see the same shape whichever is the in the preview, it is visible in our render also. So accordingly we can just play around. We can just play around using these lights and get very nice interesting looking effects. And the last one I will be covering today is the sunlight or sun and sky. Now sun and sky happens to be present in all the rendering software that we have seen so far except for the Maya software. So the sun and sky light, what it will do is it will make things easier for us, that we don't need to worry about us gauging or us guessing the color of the sun or the shadow or even the color of the sky. All we need to do is just create a sun, and accordingly the horizon as well as the intensity, illumination and the color will be depending on the sun's position in an environment. So for example, if I am creating a sun over here, so currently its position is at the side, that is it is around 4:30 or 5 o'clock angle where the sun will be, but we can see that it is looking too bright right now. The main reason behind it is a V-Ray sun, and V-Ray sun will only work with V-Ray physical camera. So we need to convert this viewport into a V-Ray physical camera scene. So in order to convert this scene into a V-Ray physical camera, we need to select whatever viewport we have into a V-Ray physical camera scene. So we can just select the camera, and in our attributes, when you select the camera view, in our attributes we need to go to this V-Ray parameter, and in V-Ray we need to select this physical camera first. After selecting the V-Ray physical camera, we need to go at the bottom, and inside our extra V-Ray attributes, what we just did, we just first selected the view, selected the camera, went into attributes, went into V-Ray and switched on this V-Ray physical camera, and after that we went to this extra V-Ray attributes and we need to switch on this treat as V-Ray physical camera. So as soon as we do that, we will see that our V-Ray sun has started to act like an actual sun, which we can see. But currently we do not have the sky around it. It is because we have not yet switched on the GI, and also we have not yet switched on the sky, which should go along with the sun. So let us switch on the sky from our environment. So in our environment you can see that we have this override environment. So now you can see that instead of me creating a sun from here, I should have created the sun from the environment parameter. So we just need to create this create sun, and we need to create V-Ray sky. So after creating this sun and sky from this Vray environment tab, we can see that it is ideally going along with the position of the sun. So in order to show it again, let me just advise the students to not use the option that is being given over here in the tab itself. What we need to do is we need to go to GI, switch on the GI first, then we need to go to the overrides option, and in our overrides option we have an option called as environment, within which we can see the two options, that is create sun and create sky. So we can just click on this create sun option. So you can see that the sunlight is being visible, which is the direct light, but the indirect light is not there. So we can create the sky. So now we have got both of these environment and illumination sources with us. So currently this looks like a very afternoon scene because the sun is on top. So when the sun is on top, we will see that it will become very bright, and it will look very desaturated or less saturated. But as soon as we drop it down in the evening, so we can see that accordingly our environment is behaving. We can even see the source of the illumination over here. So if you want to see the sun, it will be somewhere in our scene over here. So this is very similar to our mental ray physical sun and sky, and also Arnold sun and sky. So I would not advise my students to use this sun and sky option because it will not give you as many options as other lights do. So this happens to be the last light as far as V-Ray is concerned, or V-Ray lights are concerned. I can even just get back to our scene by deleting this delete sun and sky, so that our scene is just like before. So we have gone through these lights, and most of the lights are very similar to our Arnold lights. And the last thing I would like to show you is this V-Ray frame buffer window, in which we are given all these options, where this is an alpha option. We can just toggle between this RGB and alpha. This need not be used. This is grayscale, or this need not be used at all. And rest all are the options where this is this copy scene, whatever we render over here will be sent to the render viewport scene. Suppose if I am rendering this scene and this is rendering in a progressive mode, so if I want this output to be sent to the render viewport, so you can see that as soon as I click on this, my progressive render will be visible in my render viewport. Okay, so maybe you can just make use of these file save as options and all these things. That is an additional option that you can use. Then we have this render mouse pointer, where in our bucket mode, when we put our mouse at some place, so that particular area will be rendered first, and after rendering that area, these buckets will go elsewhere where the mouse is not pointed. But if I am putting my mouse in some other area, so all the buckets which are in progress, they will first render that particular area, and then they will move forward to the other area after completing that side and moving forward. So this is how the render mouse pointer options will work. And this is our render region, where I can just select a region and then I can say render. So this way my scene will be rendered accordingly. And currently, because it's a progressive render, we are seeing such process. But if I am selecting bucket mode, so you can see that just like our Arnold and mental ray, there will be a few buckets which will be rendering my scene. So suppose if I am switching off this region and if I am rendering it, so my mouse, if I am keeping it open, you can see that it is rendering the area which is at the corner first, if I am putting it over in this area. And if I want to reduce the size of these buckets, you can see that the size of these buckets are fairly large. So if I want to reduce the size of these buckets, I can reduce it by going into the bucket size options, which is present in we have this bucket option, and its size will be mentioned in say. So in this render region division, this is the option that we have for bucket size. You can see that wherever my mouse is going, all these buckets are following it. So this option will help you render the crucial area where you want clarity, or you want to see that particular area being rendered first. So we can just click on render button, and then we can keep the mouse over that area and see it rendering very quickly. So we can just say 64 is reasonable enough, but we can keep it 48 or 34 as per our requirement. When there are large objects, we can use a larger bucket size, and when there are smaller objects, we can use smaller bucket size. So this is your frame buffer, which gives you all these options of saturation and colors and levels and all these things which we generally do in Photoshop. You can do it inside of Vray frame buffer itself. So you can see that all these options are given. This is LUT. You can just select any preset, and you can just save these presets. You can just change any color. You can select your white balance and change it from looking yellow or blue, or and you can just change the output from here itself instead of rendering it out and then doing post processing in Photoshop. So the same things can be done in render viewport itself. So this is an additional option, and we have an option of presets. Now these are the presets that generally some people do use it, some people don't use it. I will show you these options very in a later stage, because first we need to go through all the options. Otherwise, once we go through this, then I am not sure if some students will be encouraged enough, or they will be willing enough to try new things. So I must keep these as it is for now. And then we have a light lister, in which all the lights that are there in the scene, they will be visible in this list, and you can easily change all the settings from here itself instead of going into the attribute editor and changing its attribute one by one. So these are very nice, and these options can be accessed very quickly. They are just major ones, and you can just switch on and off the light and just finish your output as soon as possible. So I must say I will keep this lecture for now for basic interface of Maya Vray, and if any student has any doubts, then they can just revert back to me, and I will see to it that your concerns and queries are addressed at the earliest. So thank you very much, and kindly go through this video carefully and do revert back if you have any doubts or queries. Thank you very much.